Lately, I've looked from afar and there seems to be a little bit of a chaotic situation with commercial patterns. We're gonna yap about why. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and today I have an opinion type video. I have opinions, you have opinions, we all have preferences. This is my sewing channel, so I'm just sharing mine. It's not a hateful video. You know, if you love your commercial patterns, go ahead. You know, I have nothing against commercial patterns. I just prefer indie patterns 100%. Now, before we continue, you need to know about something that is going to start tomorrow. We're talking about indie brands. One of my favorite indie brands, Love Notions, is having a huge event all during the month of May. The Me Made May trunk show. A lot of you might participate in Me Made May. It's just a month where you just try to wear your Me Mades and celebrate the things that you make. And Tammy did something like this back in 2018. I clearly remember this, and it's happening again this year. Every single day, there's going to be a pattern on sale for $5, and it'll be just for one day. So on Friday, tomorrow, there's going to be a pattern. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, from the 1st to the 31st. You're going to have a pattern on sale every single day for $5. I think that is amazing. You could just get all the ones you wanted. It's an amazing opportunity for you. So just to make it easier so that you can easily find the patterns that are going to be on sale, I'm going to create a page on my website where I'm going to post it every day. So I'm going to leave that link here. If you go to my website, liftingpinsandneedles.com, it'll be boom, right there. As soon as you click on there, you'll see the Me Made May Love Notions trunk show. Every day you'll see the updated pattern, the link to the videos I have about it, my affiliate link if you'd like to use it, and all the good information so that you're always updated. Basic definitions, commercial patterns, the big four, the big five, how many they are: Vogue, McCall's, Butterick, Simplicity, you know, commercial patterns. Indie patterns, usually a 1 or 2 person team, or there's sometimes a medium team or quite a large team. You usually know who the owner is, you usually know who is making the patterns, and that is what I refer to as indie brands. I'm very involved with a lot of indie brands. I've been enjoying and loving their work for many years. I have also sampled the commercial patterns and tried them out. So I have an opinion having tried both things. Now, let me explain a little bit of the context of why I'm forced one way anyway. But even though I'm forced in that direction, I would still be happy. I wouldn't feel bad. Now, over the years, I've had comments in my videos asking me, or actually sometimes demanding me, to sew commercial patterns, like, why aren't you sewing McCall's such and such, or why aren't you sewing Simplicity such and such? And I know that if you are in the US, these patterns could be really accessible to you, or they could have been very accessible to you in the past. I think it's changing a little bit now. I live in Brazil. When I started my channel, I lived in Bolivia. So if you're in another country, you don't just get commercial patterns. You just don't have them. Even in the past, they didn't even have PDF patterns at all. So there was no way. Once in 2019, I made an order of physical patterns. I think I ordered 4 or 5. They took months to get here, months. So doesn't that put me off, right? Just getting the physical pattern would be very cumbersome for me in the past. And then last year, if you're not in the US, I think you couldn't even get them by the PDF way. So I would have to invent an address in the USA to get PDF patterns. And why would I compromise my ethics? I could not do that. So basically, commercial patterns made the decision for me, at least in the way that things are now. I just can't get them. I don't have access to them. I can't buy the PDFs or the physical patterns. They made the decision for me. Why does this actually not affect me? Why doesn't this make me sad or anything? Because I don't prefer sewing them. I have sewn a few. I have a little shoebox patterns that were sent from lovely subscribers before the pandemic, when the post was still reliable back here. When I look at those and I look at them online, they are all out of print. I can't make content about them. I have a few PDF patterns, but just the fact that they go out of print and that they're not available for the foreseeable future, like indie patterns are, is a really big barrier for me. Now, I'm not upset because I still prefer to sew indie patterns, and let's just yap about why. One of the big reasons here is the support. So if you buy an indie pattern, there's usually ways that you can get support if you're stuck on something quite easily. Usually these brands are super active on their Instagram. The owners, the designers, the team, they really want people to buy the products to have a good result. So you'll get an answer to your problem. There's usually really helpful Facebook communities in these indie brands as well, where you could get support. I don't see that happening with commercial patterns. I have found huge errors in the instructions in some of the patterns I've sewn, diagrams flipped, just instructions being outright wrong. Who would I talk to about that? I don't even know who. I am sure I would not get the support that I need. Even if there was a number there that I could call. I'm not going to call the US to get support on a pattern. So I find that the support there after you've purchased is much more intense with indie brands than with commercial brands, and that's important for me. If I'm going to use financial resources to purchase products, I would like to know who I'm supporting actually. I think that's really important for me. I know who the owners are, who designs the patterns, like who is actually on the computer doing the work with indie brands. I see how difficult the process is. You know, most of these brands, they're not millionaires. They're just regular people doing what they love. And I love to support that. Now, with commercial patterns, I have very little to say there. I don't really know what the corporate sort of structure is there. I don't know who's making the patterns. You know, I'm sometimes confused that you have patterns there that have a designer's name, but then I've heard them say that they don't know how to draft patterns. So I'm thinking, how did that happen? I'm not naming names. This is just what I've seen over the years. So I'm just really confused by that. And so just that confusion leads me towards the indie brands. What about community? So indie brands usually have newsletters, they have events, sometimes there's sew-alongs. Sometimes if you tag them on Instagram, they will share what you made or post it on their page. It's not a given, but sometimes it happens. They just really want you to succeed, and you feel like you're in a little group of people who like the same thing. It's just more cozy feeling. You know, whenever I've made a pattern from commercial patterns, I post it on my channel and it stops there. I haven't shared anywhere. I know no one's going to give me any feedback. It just feels really isolated, and I don't know if I enjoy that. I have the feeling that if I were to create content on a commercial pattern, post video, invest financial resources of my own, because I'm an independent maker, I don't have sponsorships for fabric, for anything like that. I feel like it's a one-directional thing. I might have a teeny amount of influence whether you go and see the pattern or not. Who am I supporting there? It just feels really one-directional. I just don't like that feeling at all. Now, in terms of all the information you get in a pattern, the instructions, the size charts, the measurements, all that is there for you to analyze before you start your project to get you the best result you can. The indie patterns win here by 1,000%. Instructions very detailed, sometimes focused on beginners. They don't assume, you know, previous knowledge. It's just much more in-depth. Some use diagrams, some use photos, some have used a combination of both, but it would be very rare for me to go through an instruction booklet and think, oh my gosh, I don't understand the thing. Like, I don't know how to get over this step. And if you get stuck on a step, you have that support that I mentioned before. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups and people ask, you get answers, you get your query resolved, you can continue with your project. I think it's very comprehensive to have all the detailed measurements, you know, with the finished garment measurements. You don't have to be guessing. The older patterns that I have, the commercial patterns I have, it was pretty much a guessing game with the finished garment measurements. You had to like measure the actual pattern pieces. So the instructions really assume you know a lot. They don't give you any basics. So you might be pretty confused by what you see there. And then you see, oh, wow, this is much more intense than I thought. The instructions, the diagrams, I think they're okay. But the wording, oh my gosh, the wording, so confusing. So I think someone that's newer to sewing would have a better success rate with the indie patterns and the instructions and all the information behind there than with the commercial pattern. Now, a big thing here is the sizing. Commercial patterns, typically the ones that I had access to, that I have here, they go up to a size 20 maybe. And because they have these different size charts, I'm basically a size 20 with a 44-inch hip. Like, I'm basically sewing the largest size on the envelope. In a period of time where I had a larger size, I was completely out of the size range. cup sizes, be cup size. That's it. So even if they have patterns that go with larger sizes, the B cup size stays, which makes you have so many fitting adjustments and issues with dropping shoulders and excess ease and things. Indie brands is so different. I think their blocks are just drafted more practically with a better size range, sometimes lots of cup size options. Sometimes they're drafted in two separate groups with a B or a D. Sometimes you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I think you're most likely, if you hunt around for your particular size and shape and cup size and everything, you're pretty much going to find what you need, and you're going to have a much better result fitting wise with much less heartache and fifth muslin. I've seen that. And commercial patterns, I would need at least 2 fitting tests before sewing something because of all the adjustments I would have to make, just considering the cup size discrepancy, the length, and the lack of information, not knowing how much ease there is there and having to guesstimate, and it's just so much harder. So in terms of sizing and options, cup sizes, inclusivity, indie designers, they win by a lot as well. There have been a few exceptions where some indie brands go out of business, they close their shop, they tell people to download their patterns, please, before they close their website and such. But it's the exception. Well-established brands, they're not just going to disappear overnight. The patterns last. I've got patterns in my file that I purchased in 2017. They're still sold on these websites. People still make them. I feel like there's more longevity here than with the commercial patterns. As I said, they go out of print or they just go out of the website. You can't find them again. And as someone who makes content on sewing, this has a huge impact because I put a lot of time and effort. I'm looking for evergreen content. I prefer to have evergreen content. It's much more worth my time and effort than something that's not available anymore. And then the content becomes sort of irrelevant that I make. So I'm talking about this in my context of a sewing channel and someone that makes sewing videos. This is important for me. Maybe if you are just sewing at home, this doesn't really affect you at all, but it does affect me. That's why I prefer the indie brands, because the patterns are there. Sometimes some patterns get discontinued, but it's the rare exception, Now, the designs, now this is where it can be very, very gray, because everyone has their own opinion about design and what is pretty and what you like to wear and what not. But I find that indie brands are much more trend aware. Not that I'm a trendy, looking for trends person, always, with the latest trends. I'm not like that. I like the classics. But I do appreciate clever, unique designs. And I feel like commercial patterns sometimes are sort of stuck in the past. And sometimes it's not the actual pattern, it's just the styling and the fabrics they chose to portray these. I don't know who is making these samples or who makes those sort of creative decisions. But it's rare for me to feel really inspired by looking at those envelopes and thinking, wow, I love that. And it's totally different with the indie brands, You can tell that the samples were made with care. A lot of indie brands share a lot of the tester photos, and you can see them worn on a whole bunch of people, and you can see their choices. You might think, oh no, I don't like it in that fabric, or I love it in that fabric. You have so much inspiration to get yourself an idea of what something could look like for you, than with a little diagram drawn on a little envelope, and that's it, what you get with the commercial patterns. I know some photographs are a bit more involved now, much more professional, sort of revamped, same thing that you've seen before, a little bit outdated could be, just my opinion. So I've heard this a lot. I've heard lots of people saying commercial patterns are so much cheaper. It could be true if you live in the States, if you get sales, but it's not like it used to be. The big shops, are closing down in the United States. You can't go and get patterns for $1, for $2. That thing just does not happen anymore. And I remember buying McCall's patterns in New Zealand and paying $25 a piece. I remember buying some to make my son little cute shorts and a shirt. I remember buying a skirt pattern. I remember having the feeling, oh my gosh, the price is just so high. I also saw some commercial patterns at Hobbycraft in the UK just now. I think it might be the last they have because there was a very small stock. And they just had the original prices there, extremely expensive, 18, 20 pounds for a commercial pattern. So it was not cheap. It wasn't less than what indie patterns cost. I think the commercial patterns are just as expensive, if even more expensive sometimes, for what I'm getting. You know, indie patterns sometimes have sales, yearly sales or bi-yearly sales. Some of them have weekly sales. I think they could end up being much more accessible, especially if you're using the PDF format, which is a digital file. For me, so much more accessible. So I used to think I was missing out in the past. 2017, when I started my channel, I could barely get any patterns at all. I thought, oh, I'm really missing out. I can't sew these patterns that everyone's sewing. And in the beginning, I got sort of caught in the trap of wanting to sew what other people were sewing, just because I was trying to get seen as well as a new person on YouTube, you know, with sewing content. But that sort of sensation and feeling went away very quickly. I'm not the type of person that wants to be in cliques and that type of thing. I prefer to do my own thing, make my own decisions, sew what I want to sew, not sort of look at what other people are doing. And that feeling of being left out, or that I was missing out, or I could have much more views on my videos if I sold commercial patterns, that went away pretty quickly. I know initially some of the few commercial patterns I sold, they didn't even get more views than the other videos I was making. Since then, those patterns are out of print. So it's totally outdated content, not evergreen. It's just, yeah, it just doesn't make sense for me. I hope this satisfied your curiosity about this. I have had that question so much over the years. And then let's put the asterisk here. I am an affiliate with some indie brands. A lot of indie brands don't have affiliate programs. I am not an affiliate to every single program there is out there. I'm selective. I'm quite happy with a few that I'm an affiliate to. Not all my videos have affiliate links. I'm an independent creator. I don't have sponsored content. If you've ever watched all my videos, I'm never advertising for this and that and this and that. I don't do that. I'm completely independent. And having an affiliate link sometimes brings a small amount of income that helps me keep this going and helps me have that independent freedom to sew what I want, how I want, and not have sponsorships muddling things in the background. So I can't be an affiliate with commercial brands. They just don't have that. It doesn't exist. I am trying to earn an income with the skill that I have. And it's a full-time job, more than full-time hours. So yeah, I have affiliate links. That's okay. If you don't want to use them, they don't cost you anything extra, but it does support what I do over here. There's only a few brands that I'm an affiliate with. And yeah, I'm an affiliate because I like the product. I know the designers. I'm usually behind the scenes when a pattern is being created. That makes me feel super good about recommending affiliate links. I think they're perfect for me. There's quite a lot of work from my end for me to put an affiliate link somewhere. It's not just putting one out there for nothing at all. I've actually sewn something and filmed a tutorial and all of that. So I'm feeling absolutely fine about using them. Let me know what you think. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I don't even know who I could be offending from the commercial pattern people. See you soon. Bye.